Hello, thanks for coming. So, Buddhism is divided into two different schools. And from these two different schools, all the different sects of Buddhism arise. These schools are known as the Hinayana and the Mahayana schools of Buddhism. There they are. These two schools are known as the lesser vehicle of salvation, that's Hinayana, and the greater vehicle of salvation, Mahayana. Hinayana is the more conservative of the two schools. This is known as the school of the elders. They have more of a rigid dogma than Mahayana. Mahayana doesn't like doctrine. It's very progressive. It's liberal in its nature. It's very accepting. That's why it's known as the great school of Buddhism, or the great assembly. Mahayana emphasizes bodhisattva, the bodhisattva spirit. There it is, bodhisattva. Bodhisattva essentially means an aspiring Buddha. This is a person who hasn't quite yet reached Buddhahood. They haven't attained Buddhahood, but they're aspiring. It emphasizes the Buddha's ideal of teaching and transforming the whole world. That's Mahayana. It's much more in favor of putting into practice the Buddhist spirit in contrast to adhering to a specific doctrine. So the Buddha spirit, in essence, is the spirit of saving and transforming sentient beings. So Zen, as a school, is a merging between Mahayana Buddhism and Taoism. Taoism has its roots in China, way back in China, with teachers like Confucius and Lao Tzu, and what it emphasizes is the Tao. And Tao can be translated as the way. So this way can be pictured with yin yang. So if you were to imagine the white representing good and the black representing bad, and this is circling around, the good is trying to swallow up the bad and the bad's trying to swallow up the good. They're like two fish trying to eat each other, but ultimately it's pointless. They can't destroy the other because they depend on each other. Within the good there is evil, and within the evil there is good. There is no duality. So Zen's a combination of that, teaching the Tao, the way, and Mahayana Buddhism. Zen is a commonly known term that's used in replacement of something called the doctrine of Buddha heart, or Buddharidaya. There's Buddharidaya. That's the doctrine of Buddha heart. So to those who haven't yet applied Zen to their everyday life and their own experience, it seems very confusing at first. It seems very paradoxical. And that's because they're trying to grasp at Zen with a logically thinking mind, an analytical mind. Zen abhors analytical thinking. It goes back to the Tao, the yin yang. It's when you think logically about something, you you define it and you separate it into categories. So Zen has these things called koans, K-A-O-N. No, K-O-A-N. Let me write that down. Koans. And these koans are the teachings of Zen. So a master will take a student and they will make a statement, or they will propose a question, or they'll answer a question. And these statements and these answers and these questions are they're always very paradoxical. They seem paradoxical in their nature. They don't make any sense. So I have some examples here to help you picture this. You can make the sound of two hands clapping. Now, what is the sound of one hand? Or a student might ask the master, "What is Buddha?" The master replies, 3 pounds of flax. One of the most popular koans is the koan of Mu. And this arises from a very popular Zen teacher of long ago. His name is Joshu. And a student came up to Joshu, and the student asked Joshu, "Does a dog have Buddha nature?" And Koan replied to this, "Mu." Mu means no or not or nothing in Japanese. It's very similar to wu, W-U, in Chinese, which means the same thing. So when the student went up to Joshu and they asked Joshu, "Does a dog have Buddha nature?" Joshu said, "Mu." And you can't think about this in terms of haves or have-nots. It's not a have-not. This isn't no in the sense of duality. It's no in a much deeper sense. It goes beyond words. And that's because the words they can't really define Zen Buddhism, because it's all about experience. You can't use words in their nature. They don't go to the root of the matter. They don't truly define it. In Zen, they will say, this is called mistaking the pointing hand for the moon itself. So this is another way of saying using the word to completely define things, getting lost in the words. The words don't go down to the essence of things. You can say tree, but a tree's not really a tree. It's just a word used to describe a tree. So this is why personal experience is everything when it comes to Zen. The truth can only be experienced through personal experience. Until then, it's only a belief. Especially since the teachings of Zen concern life itself, personal experience is absolutely necessary. It's everything. So, Zen is mystical in its nature. And when I say mystical, I mean it can't be defined by logic. It abhors logic. And the problem with that is the Western mind is rooted in logic. It's the way that we were conditioned to think. We're conditioned to think logically. And it has its uses, but it doesn't come down to the truth of things. And also, when I say that Zen is mystical, I mean that it's something calm, silent, peaceful, and undisturbable in its nature. Something that is always looking into eternity. The quietude and the silence that comes from Zen is not the same thing as inactivity. The silencing is a silencing of the conditioned mind. So in this silence, you enter in to something termed the eternal abyss. And it seems very vast when you hear it. And the eternal abyss is where all conditions and separations and bifurcations, they cease to exist. And this can be interpreted as the peace of God. This type of mysticism that's proposed in Zen is very pragmatic and direct in its nature. You'll find that there can be outbursts of energy. There's power that comes from this, because your energy your energy is being used very efficiently. It's not being used to think of the past or the future or worry or stress about things. Instead, it's used completely in the present. It's used completely where life happens in the present moment. So Zen as a practice is something that left the metaphysical superstructure of Buddhism in order to become a life practice, something you can use every day, a life practice. So I think I'm going to end this video here. Namaste. God bless you. I think in the next video I'm going to go over enlightenment and what that means with Zen, and how you define enlightenment and how you attain enlightenment. So thank you.